Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopes, or Lopes, whatever his name is, or whatever he wants to go by. But yeah, I'll be predicting the full card of fights. So yeah, let's get into the first fight on the card. So in our first fight on the card, we have, and let me see, let me get this stuff over here. Y'all need to see that. First fight on the card, we have in the women's bantamweight division, we got Cornolle versus Cowan. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Cornolle to beat Cowan. Really could care less about this fight. Not gonna put no investment on either side. It is what it is. Just got to make a pick. I'm picking Cornolle. Cornolle's wrestling defense is always going to be a question mark, and I feel like Cowan should be the better wrestler, but it's, you know, Cowan did not really impress me in her last fight, and she took a long time off. So is that going to improve her, make her worse? We don't know. So it's one of these fights that you could definitely feel mad about, no matter which way it goes about. If you choose to care about it, but you choose not to care, win or lose, you don't really lose nothing. But yeah, I go with Cornolle. I feel she looked good. Her grappling looked much improved in her last fight, despite her losing. But she fought a fighter who had much better striking than Cowan, and much of a better ceiling than Cowan. But again, style matchup wise, Cowan wrestling might be a big issue here for Cornolle, and could easily see her losing a split or unanimous decision here off the wrestling. But I think Cornolle will have made adjustments on the grappling and should be the better striker here. Could see a stoppage, but I'll lean to a decision for Cornolle. I think the wrestling of Cowan will keep her in the fight, but Cornolle will be able to land the better strikes and probably even be able to get some takedowns later on in the fight of her own, maybe like one of those. But close competitive fight, but Cornolle addressing the wrestling enough and landing the more effective shots. So in this one, I have Cornolle via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Gore versus Tulio. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence Tulio to beat Gore. But yeah, it's really with this one, Gore is just like a wild card. He could be that fighter that won't really show up for you, could choke a lot of times, but also he'd be that guy that can pull off an upset and piss you off. He has not yet really done that. He hasn't really been out there and upset anybody. Maybe Frim a little bit, but Frim was never that. Like, I was never like, oh my gosh, Frim is this guy. So he has not yet went out there and beat a guy that's truly shaping up to be a stud like Tulio. It could definitely happen. Tulio could definitely not be that guy. I'm not saying that Tulio's going to be no future champion, nothing like that. But Tulio does seem like he is well-rounded, complete, has some good IQ, and like he probably could be a top 15 fighter, top 10 fighter. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it'd be no top 5, but I can see top 15, top 10 with, you know, as he is now, and if he keeps continuing to improve and doing what he's been doing. But yeah, Gore, and even the Gore, his wins been like guillotines. He hasn't really been knocking no one out as far as in his UFC career. It's been all guillotines. And I think Tulio's grappling solid enough. I think his striking's cleaner than Gore, and I haven't really seen no clean striking from Gore, to be honest. You know, like he sharpened in a little bit more. It's like, and who has he been beating? Guys that Iho Pateria about to get cut and probably cut now. What's the name? Mackenzie Dern's bid buddy. Like, who you been beating? He hasn't beat no one good yet. I feel like Tulio has fought better competition, beat better competition. So I'll go with Tulio. And I'll say second round TKO. I think he'll be the cleaner striker, more rounded fighter, more tested, more experienced, and I think that all will show. Gore, you know, has some power. He's a little bit awkward. But I think Tulio is the cleaner overall fighter. I think he'll be able to get it done. And I'll say second round TKO for Tulio. So in this one, I have Tulio via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Sumudaerji versus Mitch Raposo. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Sumudaerji to beat Mitch Raposo. And the confidence, well, I'm not going to say the confidence can't beat this candidate. Yeah, Raposo's kind of weird. And Sumudaerji's not trustworthy. Especially in the grappling department, I feel like he's showing a great improvement. He's putting a little bit more mass as well. That helps Sumudaerji. So that favors him. But you always got to be concerned about Sumudaerji's wrestling. I feel like Raposo can look to threaten there, but haven't really seen Raposo do any great ground and pound, no good submission ability. So it shouldn't be that big of an issue for Sumudaerji. Then on the feet, Sumudaerji will be the much longer, much taller fighter, much more experienced at a higher level. Also doesn't help the fact that Raposo is 0-3 in the UFC. He tried the Ultimate Fighter, he lost. He tried Contender Series, he lost. He came in on short notice, he lost. So he has tried the UFC 3 times and has lost every single time. He tried the short notice route, he tried the Contender Series route, and he tried the Ultimate Fighter route. Lost every single route. Now he's getting another chance. Seemed like a good fighter, like a bootleg Adrian Yanez or whatever, or Yanez, bootleg Adrian Yanez, same build. Doesn't check leg kicks, similar to Yanez. Not as crisp on his feet with his boxing. And yeah, I think Sumudaerji is gonna be to chew the leg up. It's like in every fight I've seen, like Raposo was open, doesn't check no leg kicks. Sumudaerji has good leg kicks inside and outside, good long jab. Should be to keep the shorter Raposo at distance and chew his legs up. Yeah, should be to chew him up at distance, break him down. Could see a stoppage, but I'll say decision for Sumudaerji here. So I see Sumudaerji getting a decision. Could see a stoppage, but I'll say decision. I think with improvement in his wrestling defense, his length, his experience, chewing up the legs of Raposo, a guy that does not check leg kicks, I see him getting a decision victory. So in this one, I have Sumudaerji via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Cedric Dumas versus Mikhail Oleksiejcuk. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Cedric Dumas to beat Mikhail Oleksiejcuk. And yeah, low confidence Dumas to beat Oleksiejcuk. Oleksiejcuk really largely one-dimensional. He has tried to mix in wrestling a bit, especially in his last loss. But no real ground and pound, no real submission ability. And Dumas should be the much better grappler here. Striking Oleksiejcuk, you know, on paper and based off his history, should be the better striker. Oleksiejcuk should be the better striker, but yeah, I just don't feel like there's gonna be really any improvement at this point for Oleksiejcuk. Like no real solid improvement. Dumas, you know, he has not been impressive, but he just one of those fighters like he's still so young into his UFC career, and he's still not that old. I think he's like 29, maybe 30, maybe 31, but still pretty early into his UFC career, he can make big adjustments. I feel like Oleksiejcuk is who he is. He's on a 3-5 losing streak. He has lost the majority of his like fights as far as losing in the grappling department, and most of them by sub. Dumas, you know, when he did, especially on his contender series fight, he showed his grappling. And I think it's a fight he can use that. And I also feel like this fight where his striking could sharpen up a little bit. In this overall game, again, I just feel like Oleksiejcuk, he's moving to the fighting nerves. I don't know if it's going to really improve his game at all. I just feel like he peaked as a fighter. I don't feel like there's no real great evolution further. Again, not a fight I feel confident about, but Dumas is a dog. I just feel like he's the side. If he's a dog in this fight, taller, longer, younger fighter, and more well-rounded, you know, can finish on the feet, can finish on the ground. And I think he'll be able to use his limb, catch Oleksiejcuk, take advantage of the fact that Oleksiejcuk is, you know, not really riding the best momentum and really just struggling to find confidence. And Dumas, again, hasn't been impressive, but at least he's been winning. And he does have the height, he has the length, he has the grappling advantage. I think he'll be able to mix it up and get a sub over Oleksiejcuk in the second round. So in this one, I got Cedric Dumas via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Darren Elkins versus Julian Erosa. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Julian Erosa to beat Darren Elkins. You got a battle between two veterans. Obviously, Elkins has much more mileage and much more damage, as the name applies, between these two. And he's older, took more damage, more mileage, but Erosa's a veteran as well. And I think Erosa matches up well with Elkins to beat him. I think Erosa has solid grappling of his own to be able to address the wrestling, adjust the grappling. Erosa's biggest issue has not really been his cardio or this and that. Erosa has had pretty good cardio. Again, he's an experienced fighter. He's not this young hothead who comes out guns a-blazing and then gasses after 1.5 rounds or one round or one flurry. He can go 15 minutes. His biggest issue is he's been getting caught. And fighters that like Elkins who like 38, 40, they don't typically be knocking guys out this late in their career. Unless like maybe one of those young guns who come in too hot, blow out, and then they can knock them out or wear them down. But Erosa's a veteran. Solid sub skills, solid grappling. He'll have the length. And I think he'll be able to pick apart Elkins, maybe to a stoppage. But again, two older veterans. This probably goes to another decision. Could be a split decision, to be honest. But I think Erosa should be able to use his length, pick apart Elkins from a distance, you know, and pile up the significant strikes. Maybe even threaten with some of his own submissions as Elkins tries to aggressively wrestle to get Elkins to bail on maybe a single. When he like give him like a high-level guillotine, get Elkins. And Erosa does have a good guillotine too, so I know Elkins is probably gonna be trying to snap a single, and I think Erosa gonna be able to counter that with a high-level guillotine that, you know, is actually a real good high-level guillotine. I think he said Aldo said he caught him several times with that in the practice. So, you know, Aldo's a very good grappler, one of the better grapplers in the whole sport right now. And if you're catching him with that a couple times in the gym, you know it's a very good when you're very good at that particular submission. So I think he can potentially catch Elkins with that. But at the very least, I think he can get Elkins respect and force Elkins to give up on takedown attempts or give up the single, and then this allow Erosa to get back to distance and continue to pick him apart with his length and his size and beat him by decision. So in this one, I have Julian Erosa via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Chase Hooper versus Jim Miller. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going average confidence, Chase Hooper to beat Jim Miller. So there's always that, you always got to respect Jim Miller. There's a chance he could catch him, chance he could catch him in the guillotine, catch him with like overhand, catch him with a hook, catch him with a guillotine, or catch him with all of the above at the same time. But yeah, Chase Hooper, he's taking his losses, he took his bumps and bruises. He's clearly getting better with each and every fight. Still, mid-puberty, getting better with every single fight. Bigger, stronger, better striking, better grappling. I'm not saying he's all that better than Jim Miller, but at this point, you probably could say it at this point in his career. Like, Miller's 40 years old. Hooper is still peaking. He's still growing. Like, he hasn't hit his prime. He's only getting better. This is one of these fights where Chase Hooper is going to be able to, add another legend to his resume. He definitely got to respect Jim Miller with everything he does, but Chase Hooper has, probably literally grew up and seeing Jim Miller's whole career. Like, literally grew up, probably a kid in elementary school watching Jim Miller fight and, see how he wins, see how he loses, see him aging and stuff, and probably has a lot of respect for him and sees him as himself as a fighter who, kind of has similar traits to Jim Miller, especially like a young Jim Miller in ways. Not completely, but in ways. Maybe more so Joe Lozon, but either way, very similar. And somebody he could definitely look up to or may have looked up to, coming up. So I think Chase Hooper will better use his length. I think he'll better take Jim Miller down, hold him down, break him down. And I'm looking at like a second round sub for Chase Hooper. So in this one, I got Chase Hooper via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, we got Virna Jandiroba versus Xiaonan Yan. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going low confidence Virna Jandiroba to beat Xiaonan Yan. I still question Xiaonan Yan's takedown defense. I question her grappling, and I think Jandiroba might be the best overall grappler in women's MMA, in my opinion. She might be the best overall grappler. The wrestling, the jiu-jitsu, and whatnot. And then she can also strike. She also has size to her. She's also experienced. So I feel like she can surprise Yan on the feet, mix in the takedowns, break her down, bust her up, and I'm going to say first round sub. Kind of crazy, but I'll say first round sub for Virna Jandiroba. I think she'll be able to surprise Yan on the feet, catch Yan, get a little bit aggressive, counter her, maybe buzz her a little bit, drag her to the ground, take her back, pound her out, then choke her out, probably late first round. Kind of like a buzzer beater, first round sub for Virna Jandiroba. But yeah, Xiaonan Yan is definitely game, definitely not sleeping on her. But Virna Jandiroba definitely has a strength in the area where Yan has definitely struggled the most, which is in her grappling. I think, again, Jandiroba might be the best overall grappler in women's MMA, like the full package. I'm not talking about BJJ. Mackenzie Dern probably has the best BJJ of any women's MMA fighter. Not in all of BJJ, but as far as MMA right now, especially the UFC, Mackenzie Dern probably has the best BJJ. Judo, obviously, what's her name? I'm saying Michaela. Yeah, Kayla Harrison has the best judo. Wrestling, maybe Suarez, maybe Zhang now, but overall, might be Jandiroba overall might have the best package of grappling. And I think she could use that to exploit Yan, who his biggest weakness has been grappling. You can say, the Baby Shark fight, but Baby Shark is a very undersized fighter, really should be fighting at atom weight, whereas Jandiroba is definitely a true strawweight and definitely has the experience and the accolades and the accomplishments and the wins to back it. So, yeah, I go Jandiroba. So in this one, I have Virna Jandiroba via first round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Dan Ige versus Sean Woodson. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going average confidence Sean Woodson to beat Dan Ige. And no disrespect to Dan Ige at all. I'm just going to say why I think average confidence is warranted here. Dan Ige, his striking is pretty good, but I feel like where he really excels in is just really landing that big overhand for the most part. He's not really a guy that's going to do combinations, work behind the jab so much. Really going to be looking to set up that one big shot and hoping to land it. I think Sean Woodson, with his length, he'll be much taller. We'll be like a 6'2", 6'1" featherweight. Ige is not more so on the shorter side, probably like 5'7", maybe 5'6". Just looking for that overhand. And Woodson is going to be to stick him with the jab, front kick him, teep kick him, and just pick him apart from distance where Ige is trying to look for that big shot. Woodson's takedown defense has always been pretty good, but has been looking better and better with each single fight out. So his takedown defense should hold up. It's not like Ige has ever shown real good wrestling offensively or defensively. So I think Woodson should be able to counter Ige's takedowns. So that will thus kind of neutralize the grappling. defeat Woodson will have a huge height advantage, huge reach advantage, huge boxing advantage, and we'll be able to like land stepping knees, jabs, uppercuts, and really just be able to pick apart Ige from distance. Ige will be tough. He'll keep himself in the fight, but I think Woodson will do a good job of avoiding the power and just landing just having the more fundamental, more clean striking, and also will help that a lot that he has the height and reach and he knows how to use it. And I just think he'll be able to neutralize Ige's grappling by keeping him defending the takedowns, then again using his length to box up Ige for 15 minutes. So in this one, I have Sean Woodson via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the light heavyweight division, we got Nikita Krylov versus Dominic Reyes. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Nikita Krylov to beat Dominic Reyes. Reyes is a solid fighter. He definitely on the best momentum he has had in years. First winning streak in years. He's been active. Krylov has not. Krylov hasn't fought in like 2 years, but I got Krylov here. I think Krylov has shown a pretty great chin at light heavyweight. Reyes is primarily like a counter fighter, but I don't really think Krylov's going to constantly give him that space, and I think Krylov can tank some of Reyes' power when off Reyes' counters and just overwhelm him, not give him the space he wants. Swarm him, slam kicks into his body, and mixing and grappling, mixing and takedowns. And it's really not give Reyes the space, like just constantly swarm, constantly crowd his space. And I think a big part of being able to take the power of Reyes' counter, and if he does get hurt, be able to recover quick and keep pressing him. I think he'll do a better job of mixing it up. I feel like Reyes definitely has grappling, maybe even be the better grappler, maybe. But as far as like offensive takedowns, Reyes, despite having that wrestling background, it really only came through for him defensively more so than offensively. Like he has not shown great takedown offense. I think he probably had like 15 fights in the UFC or so, 10 fights, maybe got like 1 or 2 takedowns, but he got taken down like 3 or 4 times or 5 times. I think his wrestling defense is pretty good as far as defending takedowns and getting back to his feet. I think it's much better than the stats suggest. But offensively, it's been very weak and very underwhelming. I think, again, he can't really threaten much more than his boxing and his kicks. And I think Krylov can threaten with the takedowns, threaten with his grappling, threaten with his volume and pressure. Chin has held up pretty strong and consistently in the UFC, and he's still young enough. Not like a guy, he's coming back and he's 37 years old. He's still probably really about the same age as Reyes. Came in the UFC very young, so yeah, I think Chicho won't be able to hold up, and I think he'll be able to overwhelm Reyes with his volume, his pressure, and his own power. And I'll see a late second round TKO for Nikita Krylov. Just pressing Reyes, walking through his counters, and just teeing off him, not giving Reyes the space to move or breathe and put him away. So in this one, I got Nikita Krylov via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Patricio Pitbull to beat Yair Rodriguez. I just really think Yair Rodriguez is overrated. I like Yair, but I think he's extremely overrated. And Pitbull, very accurately rated. But right now, I think a lot of people are kind of counting him out because he did take a couple losses. He is up there in age, but I think he still has a lot of fire in him, especially now that he's in the UFC. Maybe outside of UFC, maybe the fire was dimming just a bit, or maybe a lot of bit, but I feel like we want to see a resurgence and probably a bit of vintage Pitbull in this one. Again, with the fact that, this is his UFC debut, and he's getting dropped in prime position, and I think he does want that UFC belt and probably has always wanted that UFC belt. Am I saying he'll be a future champion in the UFC? No. But I think he has the skills to beat Rodriguez. And also you can say, Rodriguez has been working on his wrestling. He's been doing that. Rodriguez has been working on his wrestling for like 15 years. Oh, he's training with Kennedy Blades. He's training with this. He's training with this guy. His wrestling has improved a bit, but you getting taken down by Brian Ortega, your wrestling defense ain't that good. And I think Pitbull is wrestling much better than Yair Rodriguez. I mean, Pitbull is wrestling much better than Ortega's. And I don't think Rodriguez's boxing is all that good. He's got good dynamic kicks, but I think Pitbull can deal with those dynamic kicks, especially crowded space, and take away those kicks, crack them with big shots, and look to, get up underneath him, get up underneath them, get inside, land big body shots, land combinations that end up on the top, like catch him with hooks on the inside, catch him with overhands, and now allow Rodriguez the space to be crafty and dynamic with his kicks. They start to just get up under him, pick him up, slam him on the ground, break him down. And this, especially once he start to, crack him with big shots, slam him on the ground, and start to ground and pound him, we're going to start to see Rodriguez deflate. Then we're going to see Pitbull breaking Rodriguez down, especially after cracking with big shots. Again, takedowns, ground and pound. Start to see Rodriguez start to breathe heavily, be easier to hit, be easier to cut off, easier to take down. Now I see Pitbull cracking him, giving Rodriguez a false sense of security, and Rodriguez probably trying to scramble back to his feet, give up his neck, and Pitbull snap on his patented guillotine and get Rodriguez out of there in the second round. So in this one, I had Patricio Pitbull via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Bryce Mitchell versus John Silva. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence John Silva to beat Bryce Mitchell. So yeah, the wrestling does give me a bit of concern, but I just think John Silva is going to be prepared for it. I think he'll make the adjustments for it. I think he'll be able to address the takedowns and constantly look to hurt Bryce Mitchell. Yes, he'll be concerned about the takedowns, but also at the same time, he'll respect it. He'll come to defend it. He might give up a couple takedowns. Yeah, I'm saying he might give up a couple takedowns, but he'll be able to get back to his feet. And I think the most important thing he's going to do is look to constantly press Bryce Mitchell, constantly hurt Bryce Mitchell. He's not going to be one of those guys that get timid by somebody going for a takedown. Like, oh my gosh, he's going for a takedown. Oh, I got to, start to, give him my offense to focus on defense. Like, he's going yeah, you took me down, but are you doing no damage? Like, I'm going to get back to my feet and go right back to hurting you. And I think Bryce Mitchell will have a little bit of success early, at best. But I think eventually John Silva is going to start to shut those takedowns down, maybe start to set up stepping knees, uppercuts, and then start to hurt Mitchell, push him back. Then once he starts to really hurt Mitchell, those takedowns are going to get sloppier, weaker. Going to start to see the life get beat out of Mitchell. And I see John Silva stopping him in the second round via TKO, just stalking him. And at all points, looking to take the will out of Mitchell, looking to break Mitchell, looking to hurt Mitchell, and all that. Again, it's really disregarding the whole game of Mitchell. Respecting it, dealing with it, but at all points, John Silva not going to be looking at it like I'm on the defensive or I'm so worried about what he's doing. He's going to be worried about what he's doing to Mitchell, and he's going to break Mitchell down and stop him in the second round. So, in this one, I got John Silva via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence Paddy Pimblett to beat Michael Chandler. Yeah, Chandler is a great fighter, former Bellator champion, very solid fighter, but he has shown that he has really not beat no one truly elite in this division. He has Dan Hooker when he first came to UFC, but since then, this choke after choke after choke, had some good performances, but I don't really see him beating anyone that's, again, I don't see him really beating anyone now that's going to go up in ranking. I'm not saying Paddy Pimblett's no future champion or nothing, but I can see Paddy Pimblett, especially with these fighters aging out, I can see him beating Poirier. I can see him beating Gaethje, those people. I can see him beating those guys. Those guys are old and overrated. Paddy Pimblett continue to improve, continue to get bigger, get stronger, and those guys continue to get older. He's going to beat those guys if they choose to stick around. And, so I can see him beating the guys that Chandler lost to years ago. But, yeah, I can even see him low-key beating Oliveira. Low-key. Not saying I would pick him, but I can see him beating those guys. But anyway, Chandler is not beating those guys. So Paddy Pimblett's bigger, younger, not going to say stronger, but bigger, younger, has better momentum, more upside. And I think he'll look to chew the legs up of Chandler. He has not really shown a good ability to check leg kicks. He'll try to probably fire a right hand to try to counter Pimblett's leg kicks, but I think Pimblett will do a good job of probably attacking legs. And then when Chandler looks to land the right hand, probably look to take his head off the center line and catch Chandler with a hook as he tries to, pretty much Chandler has become pretty predictable. He's kind of neglected his skills and just looked to go for be a fun fighter instead of a skill fighter since leaving Bellator. And, I guess getting up there in age, he's like, let me just go for exciting fights instead of fighting smart. And not to say that he's a bad fighter at all, but I feel like he has lost a lot of his edge, is all I'm saying. Exciting, but this version of him that has been in UFC has definitely not been the best version of Chandler. And again, he's only getting older. And as far as against decent fighters, he's been like 1-3 as far as his career in UFC. But I'm talking too much. I'm yapping too much. All over the place too much. But I think, again, Paddy Pimblett just has momentum behind him. Continue to get better. I think he'll be able to shoot the legs up for Chandler. Be able to catch Chandler coming in looking for that right hand and just be a slip off, catch him with hooks. And I think he'll be able to take the shots better than Chandler. I think Chandler will be able to crack him with big shots. But ultimately, I think Pimblett, younger, way less mileage, will be able to take those shots better. If need be able to rally, whereas Chandler won't be able to rally. And I think Pimblett, they'll both be catching each other. Pimblett will probably be catching them cleaner. And also, Chandler being older with more miles probably won't be able to take the shots that well, or as well as Pimblett will be able to. And also with Pimblett being bigger, younger, all that stuff benefits him with taking the shots if he has to. But when Pimblett catches Chandler, I feel like Chandler's not going to be responsible. Probably get hit, caught by something he doesn't see, be on wobbly legs. Pimblett probably look to swarm him. Chandler probably looks to level change and go for a takedown. Pimblett snaps on a guillotine or looks to sprawl, take his back, and choke him out. But either way, I see Pimblett finish this fight with a sub. Like, hurt him on the feet after chewing his legs up and have him limping and switching stances and wobbling a bit. And then after hurting him, and swarming him, Chandler looks for the takedown. Pimblett's able to capitalize, whether he takes his back or just goes for the guillotine or looks to, end up in his guard and go for a sub. Either way, I see that being the outcome. Hurt him on the feet. Chandler shoots the takedown. Pimblett capitalizes and gets the sub, and I say third round sub for Paddy Pimblett. So in this one, I got Paddy Pimblett via third round submission. Now on to our next fight. We have in our main event for the undisputed vacated UFC featherweight championship, former featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes or Lopes. And how do I feel about this one right here? As I'm going low confidence Diego Lopes to beat Alexander Volkanovski. And if this was even a couple fights ago, let alone a couple years ago, I would definitely pick Volkanovski. But momentum is everything in this sport, and really in sports in general, because confidence is a big part of sports. Like, it's very much mental. Like, you train all this stuff, train all day, and train this and train that, but a lot of times fighters win or lose based off their mental game. And Lopes has never been the champion. He wants to be champion. Volkanovski has already been champion. He definitely wants to be champion again, but it's always going to be way more hungry to be champion for the first time than there is to be champion again. Like, really, like, Volkanovski can't really do too much in the sport. He can win the belt again, but he's not going to last very much longer. He might be able to pull off and get the belt again, but probably lose it his very next fight or the fight after that. Lopes could etch out a whole new title reign and, build a legacy for himself, whereas Volkanovski's already established. And these guys might say, oh, I'm hungry this, I'm hungry that, but a lot of times they be lying. Like, he's training, he's trying to tell himself that. Even he said, like, I question if I could do this anymore and this and that. And that's his real mentality. The rest of the stuff, he just been lying to himself. Like, he can win this fight. Definitely. That's why my confidence is low. He probably should win this fight if we just went off skill for skill and this for that. But momentum is everything. He's coming off 2 knockout losses. Yes, he has time to recover now, but Volkanovski has never really been a fighter with great chin. He was the guy getting dropped by Darren Elkins. The chin's never been good. And he was getting dropped by Max Holloway before he really even had power like that. And I think Lopes definitely has some of the most power that Volkanovski has ever fought. I'm not saying he has the most power. Obviously, that is Taporia. But Lopes is right up there among people that have had power that Volkanovski has fought. And Volkanovski is coming off 2 knockout losses. And in his later 30s, pushing 40. But I think Lopes will be there threatening with submissions when Volkanovski tries to go for takedowns. I think on feet, Lopes will be there to chop his legs up with kicks. I think Lopes will be bigger, younger, hungrier. And I think he'll be able to capitalize on Volkanovski coming off 2 knockout losses. And also the fact that Volkanovski has never had a great chin to begin with. And also I think Volkanovski at best he could try to be the fighter that he used to be, which is a great thing he could do. Like, try to be what he was before or what he is still. And again, that's a great thing he can do. But it's never good when you're just trying to be like, oh, I just got to go back to doing what I've been. Like, as a fighter, you should always be trying to be better. Like, you don't try to change who you are necessarily, but you got to try to be better. That's why some of these fighters, they be like the same age, but they never became champion. They'll beat those former champions that were champions their whole career later on, because those champions are just trying to be who they used to be. And the sport's constantly evolving, so you're just trying to be who you used to be, and the sport's constantly evolving, you're going to get left behind, no matter how great you were at one point. So you always got to be constantly improving. And I feel like Volkanovski, in this fight, he's pretty much trying to prove who he used to be, and that's a never good spot. And we have seen plenty of champions year after year fade and start to drop loss, like Usman, Adesanya, Dillashaw, Cejudo. Like, they're so bad, they're so badly trying to be who they used to be instead of being better. And that's where they get left behind. I feel like Volkanovski kind of end up in that same pocket. But I think in this one, Volkanovski's going to be game. He's going to be looking good early. But I feel like once Lopes catch him with something, even probably the slightest shot, I feel like that's going to completely demoralize Volkanovski. Like, not completely, but it's going to definitely see a visible shift. Like, he's going to start to slow down. He's going to get more defensive, shut up a little bit, and I think Lopes is going to take over the fight, start to swarm him, and I see like a, I'm going to say early mid third round TKO for Diego Lopes. Probably going to be earlier than that, but I'm going to say second round. Early mid second round TKO for Diego Lopes. So in this one, I got Diego Lopes via second round TKO. And yeah, that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopes. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.